Welcome to today's webinar, The Art of Fee Conversations, Elevating Client Trust and Your Value. I'll be your host today. My name is Jeff McDonald. I'm the founder and CEO of Wealthwise Consulting. I bring over 20 years of industry experience. I have a CFP designation. I also have an MBA from Schulich School of Business from the York University in Toronto. At Wealthwise Consulting, we empower financial advisors with comprehensive strategies and training to help them grow their business, improve efficiencies, and increase client satisfaction. We have a lot to cover off today, so let's get started. The first thing I want to discuss with you is the importance of the fee conversation and why you need to have this conversation with your clients. I'm going to provide you with a step-by-step process so you can best prepare for your conversation. We're going to discuss when to initiate this conversation and why the earlier is better. From there, I'm going to provide you with a structure so you can maximize the impact of your conversation with your clients. It's common to receive objections during this conversation, so I'm going to list 4 common ones as well as a process for you to overcome other objections. I'm also going to discuss why you need to have the fee conversation during your review meetings. And lastly, I'm going to leave you with some additional best practices so you can be confident when having your discussions with your clients. There are a number of reasons why these conversations are very important to have. I'm going to touch on what I feel are the most important. First, it helps you establish trust. Trust and respect are the foundations for the client-advisor relationship. By having an honest, transparent conversation about your fees, that goes a long way to building that trust early on. Another way it helps build trust is you'll be explaining to them exactly what they'll be paying and how they'll be paying it, whether that's a flat fee, percentage of their assets, or any type of commission or referral fee. Next, it helps you establish your value. You've already discussed exactly how you're going to be getting paid. To establish your value, you can offset that by explaining exactly what you're going to be doing to help them through their financial life. That's going to be investment management, risk management, behavioral. There are a number of different ways you can help bring value to the relationship. If you're able to quantify it, that's even better. That will go a long way to establishing value and taking the focus away from just the fee. Lastly, they help prevent misunderstandings in the future. When a client receives a statement and they see a fee being charged that they weren't expecting, it can obviously bring a lot of shock, and that's when they're going to be calling you to find out what is going on. Why am I paying this? What you want to do is have the fee conversation earlier on, so that way they know exactly how they're going to be compensating you. So that way in the future, there's no misunderstanding. And if there is, you can always refer back to the initial conversation that you had. This goes a long way to preventing misunderstandings in the future. Preparing for the fee conversation is important. It's going to help you build your confidence so you can confidently explain to a client exactly how you get compensated and why. To do this, the first thing you're going to have to do is understand how you get compensated. Are you collecting a percentage of their assets? Are you getting paid a flat fee for your services? Or are you collecting a commission from investment products or insurance products? Perhaps you're getting referral fees as well. Being clear on how you get compensated will make it easier for you to have these conversations. From there, you're going to discuss exactly what services you'll be offering the client, whether this is investment management, risk management, debt consolidation, and debt management. Perhaps you are going to be helping them with comprehensive financial planning. There's a number of different ways that you can help bring value to the relationship. By clearly articulating exactly what fees they're going to be paying and what services they're going to be receiving, that is how you can build your value. Now you want to support your discussion about your services with facts and data insights. So what you want to do is you want to take some time to think about and quantify how much the client is going to receive in value from the services you provide. Perhaps over the past 5 years, you've been able to beat your client's benchmark by 2%. So you're bringing a lot of value to the table there. Or Perhaps one of the best stories you can share is about that client that you helped improve their retirement plan and retire 3 years earlier than they expected. That's a good news story, and clients like to hear that. In addition to that, you can also talk about things like estate planning, how you were able to restructure an estate plan to protect assets, reduce taxes. Now you're building value. Now, when you're also having this conversation, it's very common for objections to come up. So what you can do is you can prepare beforehand. Think about the common objections you've received in the past. Think about it from a client standpoint. What objections might you have? Once you've made a list of objections, you can then write out how you would respond to these objections. The more objections you're prepared for, the easier these conversations are going to be. The next thing you want to do, the last thing, is practice. The old saying, practice makes perfect. Even if you're not perfect, you're going to be a lot better off. This could be by looking in a mirror and having the conversation with yourself, or perhaps you have a colleague in your office that you can have this conversation with. The more you practice, the more confident you're going to be when sitting across from a client. Initiating the fee conversation early is best. I recommend having this conversation during the introductory meeting before you've actually onboarded the client. This allows you to, again, have that discussion about how you're compensated and why you're compensated, so the services that you bring to the table and the value you bring. In addition to that, it'll allow you some time to address any client concerns or questions that they may have in full. Once you've gone through that process and you agree and the client agrees that you want to work together and move forward, at that point you've agreed upon alignment and you want to document this relationship. It's best to do this in a letter of engagement, but you can also just have a separate fee contract that explains exactly how you'll be compensated, the services you'll be providing to them, the frequency of your communication and method used to communicate with the client. In addition to that, if there's any referral fees, that you will clearly disclose this to the client. You can address any conflicts of interest as well in the fee contract. And then lastly, the last thing you want to include in your contract is an explanation that any fees that may be charged in the future will be discussed with the client before anything is actually charged. So if there's something that the client's looking for that's outside of your scope of the relationship and there's additional fees required, have that conversation before implementing. If there's a referral fee that you're going to get from referring the client to an estate lawyer, make sure it's clearly disclosed to the client before you actually move forward. This helps build trust. The fee conversation structure is important. I'm going to walk you through what I feel is the best method. First thing you want to do is explain to the client how you get compensated. What's your fee model? Again, are you getting paid a flat rate? Is it an hourly fee, a percentage of their assets? Make sure they clearly understand how you will be compensated. It's best also to be transparent and explain to them that there possibly could be commissions in the future or maybe referral fees. From there, you want to explain to them exactly what services you're going to offer them. Comprehensive financial planning, portfolio management and monitoring, estate planning, whatever services you offer, whatever you bring to the table, share it with the client so they know exactly why they're going to be paying this fee. You also want to share some insights to help support and build value. These could be data points that you have from working with past clients. Perhaps you are using industry reports and studies to help build the value that you bring to the table as a financial advisor. Another way to do this is by sharing some good news client stories. That client that you were able to help retire sooner by making adjustments to their retirement plan. How you were able to protect assets and make sure that a client's son who has a disability will be taken care of for the long term through the use of a trust. There's a number of different ways you can discuss and explain how you'll bring value, and that insight will go a long way to making your clients feel at ease. Next, you want to open it up to client questions. This is where they're going to have their objections. This is where they perhaps will have some concerns. By opening it up to them, you can now address these concerns, address these objections, address these questions in full. That will go a long way to building that trust, making them feel comfortable with that this is a transparent relationship. It's a two-way relationship. They're not just being told, but you're actually listening to them. You're understanding who they are. Once you've done this, at this point, you want to document the agreement. You always want to put stuff that you've done or things you've agreed to with a client in writing. This is going to help you if should something happen in the future. Active listening is a crucial component of fee conversations. It helps you develop trust and shows clients that you value their concerns. There's many ways you can show clients that you're active listening, so let's go through a few. The first thing is maintaining eye contact. This shows the client that you're engaged and attentive. Next, paraphrasing concerns back to them will not only help you clearly show that you're listening, but it will also allow you to ensure that you heard the concern properly. From there, you'd also want to ask clarifying questions. If a client has mentioned that they've had a bad experience with an advisor in the past, ask them why. What was so bad about the experience? How can you ensure that they don't have that same experience going forward? Next, you want to avoid interrupting. That shows them that you want to hear them in full, and then you're actively listening to them. If you start to interrupt your clients, they're going to feel like you're not really listening and that you're just trying to get through the meeting. You're really just trying to share what you think their concern is or what the answer is to a possible concern without fully hearing what their full concern is. Lastly, you want to stay calm and open-minded. Sometimes these conversations might feel like they're a little confrontational, but really this is supposed to be a collaborative conversation that really helps you address any concerns that a client may have and to make sure that they are fully aware as to how you get compensated. Client objections are common during fee conversations. I'm going to walk you through a process that will allow you to address any concern that comes your way. The first thing you want to do is acknowledge and validate the client concern. I understand. I hear you. From there, you want to paraphrase the objection back to the client and ask clarifying questions. This will help you to identify the true objection that the client has. Once you understand what the objection is, now you can move on to discussing and responding to that objection. When you're responding and having that discussion, wherever possible, you want to also support your response with an illustration. If somebody says that they don't like working with financial advisors, okay, I understand. I hear you've had a bad experience. It sounds like you've had a bad experience working with an advisor in the past. What happened? Why don't you trust advisors? And then from there, you can address that concern, that objection. You can also support it with that illustration. I've actually worked with a client in the past who felt the same as you. This is what I was able to do to help alleviate that concern, and now that client loves working with me. Once you've done that, before moving on, ask if they have had their objection clearly addressed. Do they have any additional objections that they may have? If they give you the okay, at this point, you can move forward. On the previous slide, I walked you through a process to address objections that come your way. Now I want to walk you through the most common objections that you could hear and how you can overcome them. First is, I can't afford your fees. Best reply, I understand that fees are a concern for you. Let's look at my services and the potential savings that you could see that will help offset these costs. Next is, I've heard of lower fees from other advisors. While I understand that lower fees do sound appealing, let's look at the unique value and services that I bring to the table that will help justify my compensation. Next is, I need some time to think about it. I understand that you need some time to make a decision. What information can I provide you that will help you through your decision-making process? Lastly, I don't trust financial advisors. Here you could share some testimonials or stories from clients that were in the same boat who now have found success by working with you. Earlier we talked about initiating the conversation around fees early in the relationship, preferably in the introductory conversation. This isn't a one and done conversation. This is a conversation you can continuously have throughout the relationship with your client. The best spot is during your review meetings. Now, before you jump into the fee conversation, you have to prepare. So what you want to do is you want to look at what fees did the client get charged. Was it an hourly rate, a flat fee, a percentage of assets? Were there additional commissions you received or referral fees? In addition to what fees they paid, you want to look at what services you provided. Did you offer financial planning? Were there transactions or requests from the client that you helped take care of? Perhaps it was saving the client from making a bad decision. You want to have these ready to go. That way, when you jump into the fee conversation during your review meeting, you can explain to them exactly what fees they were charged and what services you helped them with to help bring value and offset that cost. If you have a benchmark of 6%, but through portfolio management throughout the last period, you were able to bring a return of 8%, you've beat the benchmark by 2%. That's additional value you've brought to the table. Perhaps it's a client that received a promotion and they thought they could afford a new BMW as opposed to a Honda when buying a new car. But when you started to look at the additional monthly payments, the additional cost for parts and maintenance, the additional cost for premium gas, it now took the money allotted for a vehicle outside of the scope of the plan. It's now more than they can actually afford. You showed them exactly how they could afford the BMW, but how it would affect the rest of their plan. And so from there, they've decided not to move forward, or they did. In addition to that, it could be something like right now, when the markets are very volatile and they start to panic and want to step out of the markets. And you have that conversation and tie it back to their long-term goals and explain that we've factored in volatile times into our plan. And so they don't get out of the markets, they stay in and they don't feel the effect. Next, you want to invite feedback as well. This is an opportunity for clients to have a discussion with you. Ask questions, share concerns. Were they happy with the services they received for their cost? Are there additional needs that they may have that fall outside of the scope that you can discuss and perhaps now include that service and make an adjustment to their fees? Or is it something that is a one-time need that you could possibly add and charge a one-time fee to? Maybe they have a concern or thinking that they're not getting enough value. This is a great time to address those concerns. We're getting closer to the end of the presentation. The last thing I want to cover off for you are best practices. How can you maximize the impact of your fee conversation? The first thing you want to do during a fee conversation is take it away from a cost and turning it into an investment. How do you do that? You reinforce value throughout the relationship. You explain to them what the potential value is. What are they getting for that cost? You always want to active listen. Gone through that, so I'm not going to go through that much further, but always be active listening during these conversations. Next is being transparent. There's nothing worse for a client than seeing a fee or a commission that they get charged that they were not expecting. Always make sure your clients are aware of exactly how you get compensated, and if any additional compensation is going to be charged to the client, they're aware of it before it's actually charged. Next, you want to tailor your communication to the client. Not every client is going to be receptive to the same message. Take time to tailor your message to them. Encourage dialogue. Ask questions. Get them to ask questions of you. Get them to share their concerns. The more they share, the easier it is going to be for you to actually address these concerns, address these objectives, answer these questions, and maximize your value. And lastly, very important, make sure that they're aware that fees can change. If clients sign a fee contract, then they've been stated a fee, and later on you come back and say that you need to charge more because of inflation or because your skills have improved. You've taken more courses. You have more experience. Clients won't be happy. But if you've gone through and you've mentioned it to them from the outset, that fees can change. Now it's more palatable. They're more understanding, and that's important. Before we wrap up the webinar today, I want to make sure we walk through some of the key takeaways I want you to leave with. First, fee conversations are ongoing. It's not a conversation you have once at the beginning of the relationship and never again. Whenever possible, you want to always make sure the client's aware of the value you bring to the table. Great place to do this is during review meetings. Next, preparation is key. You always want to make sure you're prepared for your meetings. You always want to be prepared for the conversation, whether that's explaining how you get compensated or how you were compensated during review meetings. You want to explain to them exactly what services you bring to the table or the value you've brought throughout the relationship since the last time you discussed the fees. Timing matters as well. You want to have this conversation early. I recommend during the introductory conversation, as well as during review meetings. That's another great place to have this conversation. Having a structured conversation is going to make it a lot easier for you and make you feel more confident. And I provided you with structure for the initial conversation as well as structure for your review meetings. And then I provided you with a process to overcome objections. Being prepared to handle objections will make handling them a lot easier. And lastly, you want to reinforce value. Value is really the most important part of the conversation. You want to explain to them exactly how you got compensated. You want to explain the services, but when you combine the two, you want to maximize value. This brings us to the end of our presentation today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. You can see that I'm available on LinkedIn as well as my email address is on the slide below. In addition to that, I offer complimentary consultations, so please reach out to me for yours. Lastly, on workwithwealthwise.com, you can also find your free practice assessment. It will tell you the state of your practice and where you can improve. I'd love for you to connect with me on LinkedIn. I post daily and have a weekly newsletter. Also, on workwithwealthwise.com, I have a blog that I post weekly as well. In addition to that, you can also find some expert commentary from me through collaborations with some industry leaders, as well as some articles I've written for leading publications. Lastly, also connect with WealthWise Consulting on LinkedIn. To download your fee conversation workbook, you can just scan this QR code. In the workbook, I gave you some best practices as well as the processes that we discussed earlier in this webinar. In addition to that, it is a guide so you can actually fill it out so you can be best prepared for your conversations. This brings us to the end of our fee conversation webinar today. I hope you take a lot from it. My name is Jeff McDonald. Again, I am the founder and CEO of WealthWise Consulting. I thank you for taking time out of your busy day to be with me. I wish you nothing but the best during your fee conversations. I hope you have a wonderful day.